Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of The Good Guy Drinks Whiskey. Tonight, I'm excited to invite on whiskey content creator Ryan. You can find Ryan's content on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter under the username That One Dude Ryan. So with that, let me jump on here and invite him into the chat. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking the time to join me here tonight and drink a little whiskey and chat a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, you can't turn down a good sit around and drink whiskey. And other than that, I'm just trying to readjust all of this stuff.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get everything just right. So, as is my usual format, we picked out a few whiskeys beforehand, and each whiskey will be highlighted with a few questions that I'll ask you. And some are whiskey related, some are about your background, some are just for fun. So, with that, let's just jump in right into the whiskeys we're going to be having tonight. So tonight we're going to go with the Redbreast 12, probably the best place to start.
Yes.
Then it looks like I saw your quick little video before you jumped on here. You had the Virginia Distilling Company's Courage and Conviction Cuvée cask, but you didn't have the cask strength version, right? You have the 46%, is that right?
Well, here's the fun part. I have pretty much everything they have.
Oh, okay.
So
Perfect.
I'm a huge fan of American single malts, okay?
Yeah.
So a lot of people look at me, and sorry, I'm going to go off topic.
No, don't worry about it.
Look at me and they immediately go, bourbon drinker. When in reality, I started with scotch.
Okay.
So American single malts are like the birth of, or the conglomeration of, Scotch whiskeys and American whiskeys. Just put them together, and this is what the good stuff we're going to have. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I have it right here.
Oh, all right, perfect. So that's great. I think it probably makes sense to save that one for last since we're getting the strongest ABV. That'll be a good dessert dram for the evening. So our second one will be the traditional Ardbeg 10, right? Perfect. Now, out of the 100 bottles I sent you that I had opened, how many do you think you had in common of mine?
Truthfully, we had probably a good, I only want to say maybe 20.
Okay, so 20%, overlap. That's not bad.
That's not bad, right?
Yeah.
So my problem is my Scotch selection, because I enjoy drinking it so much, has gone so far down.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. Like, I have hundreds of rye whiskeys and bourbon whiskeys, and like what you're seeing here is Scotch. What you're seeing here is Scotch, and then maybe a couple more like Compass Box up here.
Yeah.
So
you have your scotches in the view for everybody to see, but but that's your smallest. Is that your smallest portion of your collection? No.
No. So my smallest collection right now would be Japanese whiskey, Mexican whiskey, Canadian, and Indian whiskeys.
Oh, okay.
Those are my smallest, because I have only a few bottles each. I have like 2 or 3 of the Japanese, 1 of the Mexican, maybe 5 Canadians.
Yeah.
But I always like to keep these in view so that when either I'm live or doing a video or whatever, people understand like we have a bunch of whiskey here.
Yeah.
Like it's not just bourbon. It's rye whiskeys. It's Scotch. It's Japanese. It's everything.
Yeah. You're not painting yourself into a corner with just one style. You like them all. That's great.
Exactly.
All right, so let's just jump into the Redbreast 12-year-old. Obviously it's a classic. Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, so it's fitting that this will be our first dram of the evening.
Absolutely.
This is one that I don't visit as often as I probably should, because when most whiskey enthusiasts, you think we go to something a little more cask strength or interesting. But every time I come back to this, it's just such a nice, simple, easy sipping whiskey. It's got the basic ex-bourbon, ex-sherry maturation. I mean, it's just such a lovely whiskey.
Oh, absolutely. Look, there's one thing that I would say. Middleton Distillery does not miss. I don't think they have a single really bad whiskey.
Yeah.
They do have some ones that are, relatively inexpensive. They're going to be a little, what I would say, bitey. They grab the tongue a little bit. But I don't think there's a single Redbreast that I've ever had that was not worth picking up.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Some of the more recent releases have been ticking up there in some of the prices, like their recent sherry cask release was a little on the pricey side, but But you're right.
Right.
They don't miss. This 12-year-old, it did take me a few drams to kind of engage with, but after it got a little air in the bottle, it really started clicking with me, and you got that excellent Irish style whiskey.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like the sugar cookie with a bit of jam on it. It's very sugary. It's very like sweet to the point of not candied sweet,
Yeah.
but savory sweet, which is really nice. And honestly, everybody always asks me one of my favorites between this and the Gold Spot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is the
you
gold
can't really go wrong.
so the gold spot is you've had that one? That one's
Oh yeah, this is my Irish whiskey right here.
all right.
The Gold Spot. This right here, 700 mil. I think I got this for around 150.
Yeah, it's a good price.
So, I mean, we popped this. We did a slam with this. We did a review on this one. An absolute banger of an Irish whiskey. I wouldn't say it's definitely up there with some of my favorites. I'm getting a text from my wife that's like, "There's a lag on your end."
Oh, really? Huh. I'm not getting a lag from you. I don't know if you are from me.
No, I'm not getting a lag from you.
Yeah, if anybody else is
wonder
getting a
if
lag,
it's-
let me know. Maybe. Hopefully it's not from my end. I've had internet issues in the past, but we'll hopefully it's okay. Now, do you like the gold spot better than the blue spot?
No,
All right. So the blue spot still. That was definitive. No contemplating.
absolutely love Blue Spot. I'm a cast strength junkie. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely love a good 100-something proof. Sorry, is it?
There's a terrible lag between the two of you.
Oh, between the two of us. Okay.
Hmm.
Sorry. My wonderful PR rep wife over here. She comes in, she's like, "There's a terrible lag between the two of you." Which, I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. Some
Yeah.
people say no lagging, some people say lagging. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving right along.
As long as we can hear each other fine, I guess that's the
Right.
important thing.
That higher ABV, especially in one of the spots, absolutely hits right. I love it when it has that bit of dryness.
Oh yeah.
And it finishes unbelievably sweet. Again, another reason why a lot of people are bourbon lovers, because of that Kentucky hug, that beautiful warmth that it gives you. Blue Spot gives that gangbusters. Like, it's 100% going to give you that wonderful cask strength Irish whiskey feel.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And with the blue spot in particular, it's just such an interesting whiskey. There's so many different layers to it. And, I mean, it's got much older whiskey than the 7-year-old age statement suggests it does. Though I haven't had batch 2 yet. I actually have a bottle of batch 2 behind me. But I know for batch 1, it was one of the best Irish whiskeys I've had, at least in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't even have it bottled. Like, that,
Oh.
that is how rare it is for me to find here in the Tampa Bay area. I don't even have a bottle. I had a buddy of mine has a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few sips off of him. I've had a buddy of mine send me a sample of it. Just a basic little 2 mil,
Yeah.
20 mil bottles, 50 mil bottles. And then it literally was gone in a matter of minutes. Just pour it, sip it. Oh God, here we go.
Yeah. And in most stores, at least around here, they charge it ridiculous prices for it. But I had a fellow whiskey enthusiast who was driving through New Hampshire, and New Hampshire has state laws with alcohol, and they were selling the Blue Spot for $90, and they had like dozens of bottles on in the shelf. It was insane how great the value was.
Yeah, if I could get to one of these controlled states where they actually control the pricing as well,
Yeah.
I would absolutely love finding some any of the spots, because
Yeah.
the spots in Florida are like even green spots, $100.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
It's crazy. And then even if you're looking at like the Chateau or any of the other ones of just green spot,
Yeah.
you end up having to spend anywhere from $150 to $250.
Yeah.
And no offense, it's great stuff. All of the spots, you can't go wrong.
Mm-mm.
But is it really worth $200-something?
No, probably not. And I mean, my go-to Irish whiskey is the Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength, which is one of my all-time favorites. And when I got a whole bunch of bottles when they were like $65 somewhere online, and it was like, there's no way this value is this good. This is such a ridiculous good whiskey for such a good value. And the price is a little bit more expensive nowadays, but still for around $85, at least around here, that's a ridiculously good value for the 12-year-old cask strength.
I loved when just the standard Redbreast 12, because honestly, if you're going to drink Irish whiskey, if you want the epitome of what Irish whiskey distilled down to its core, it's definitely something like Redbreast. It's that wonderful shortbread cookie feel, right? Or sugar cookie feel with a little bit of jam. Like, that's just what it's all about. Now, if you want something different, you go to the spots. But I remember when this was only like $50 on the market.
Yep.
Then they win Whiskey of the Year back in 2018, 19, something along those lines. And he almost overnight, the price of this went like 50, 60, 70, and now I think I saw it today because we were over in an area looking at some new stores. I think I saw this today for like $85.99.
Oh man,
I think it was the cheapest I've seen it in a while in Florida.
Yeah, that's tough. So it sounds like whiskey hunting in Florida is a bit of a challenge. Not a ton of options out there.
It's a price challenge is the problem.
Yeah.
In Florida, where the wonderful thing is we're an allocation state. We're not anything special, but we get a good selection. In this area, in the Tampa Bay area, it is very much a whiskey town.
Yeah.
I was talking with a couple of people the other day about this, that it is a huge whiskey town, and everybody is out and about trying to find whiskey, trying to buy whiskey. So trying to find what you want to find is hard, but trying to find it at the right price is even harder.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, do you ever shop online for whiskey, either domestically or abroad?
From time to time, yes. So there are a couple of really good sites that I enjoy using, but they're bigger names, right? So everybody's going to be shopping on those sites.
Yep.
The smaller sites, you kind of have a little bit of pause.
Yeah.
I found a new one that I'm actually a little scared to say because they did have a pretty decent selection. Shipping wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
The prices could be a bit hit or miss, but not bad at all.
Yeah.
And they have a great selection of scotch.
So which is always.
I might have to try it more.
Somebody's asking about Waterford. Have you had Waterford Irish whiskey? I haven't yet, just because the price has been a little bit high for me for what you're getting. But I hear it is very good whiskey.
Yeah, I've heard. I've never tried it myself.
Yeah,
I've heard both opinions on it, and I don't like to make an opinion until I actually try it myself. So I don't.
Yeah, of course. It's tough to say. At least price wise around here, usually I see that for around $90, and for a new whiskey that I've never had before, it's hard for me to justify that. If I can get a sample of it, that'd be great. But up until this point, I haven't been able to try the Waterford.
Make it Bourbon Kid. I haven't seen him in a long time. What's up, Sean? No, and the blue bottle too. I mean, it's a beautiful looking.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I
haven't picked one up, I should say.
Yeah, and I read a little bit about the history of the founder of that distillery, and apparently he's trying really hard to make a pure, authentic, high quality Irish whiskey. So the intentions are there. It's just hasn't delivered yet. It's going to be young whiskey regardless, so you can't have super high expectations for it when you dive into it. But something to keep an eye on in the future. Yes. So my first question for you is, how did you get into the whiskey game? Tell us how your account started.
I have no clue. No. So I've always been a whiskey guy. I've loved whiskey from, I say, 21 years old. From 21, just being able to go out there and try different things. Now, again, tried bourbon for the first time, and I was like, no, thank you. I would rather have something else.
Yeah.
And I tried scotch and Irish whiskeys and just fell in love with single malts and half malts, if you would like to say, from Ireland.
Yeah.
And just love trying different ones, finding different complex flavors, things like that. The Tennessee whiskeys to me weren't half bad, but I always had this stuck in my head that bourbon whiskeys were like super nutty.
Yeah.
Right. Only in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years did I get right back into the bourbon game. And then fell face deep into it. But this whole started because I started just posting pictures. Actually, it started with, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago with a bottle of Ardbeg and Noah.
Okay, yeah.
So I found it. They were claiming to be the best Islay Scotch. And I was like, well, I like Islay Scotches.
Yeah.
Let me try this one. And it was really good.
Yeah.
Like, I love the smokiness of it. And I posted it on Instagram. And the picture did well.
Mm-hmm.
My tasting notes were just very plain. I kind of like this. And then from there, it just kind of took off.
Yeah.
Right? The way that I always like to position myself, and this is going to be a bad situation because of the names that are currently on this live, but I never like to consider myself like a whiskey influencer.
Yeah.
Right. I always like to be. I enjoy whiskey, and the reason for my page is to kind of talk whiskey with people.
Yeah.
Right. So most of the time, I just did stuff to really bite my thumb towards the whiskey or bourbon influencers around the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
The States. So that's when we started doing kind of the slams and sips stuff.
Yeah.
And just kind of slamming things and then tasting it and being like, yes, this is good. Instead of going,
Yeah.
I smell caramel and watermelon rind, and is that the bottom of my sneakers? Like, it was the dumbest thing that I could think of to kind of just be like, I'm not going to do all that.
Yeah.
And then it ended up, for some reason, people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah. And no, I think that's a cool way to approach it too, because you obviously have a group of people who really like to kind of analyze and dig into the whiskey, but it's also good to know that, you don't have to treat whiskey like that. You can just drink it to enjoy it, not take it too seriously, and just share it with friends. I mean, I think that's a great way to kind of look at whiskey in general.
Absolutely. Oh no, there's definitely a time and place for all of these things.
Oh yeah.
Like one of my favorite things to do is the whole tastings. Like, I'll do personal tastings, we'll do professional tastings.
Yeah.
I don't look like this for the professional tastings unless they ask me nicely to come.
Yeah.
But we do the professional tastings, and we will do a full blown in depth. And
Yeah.
I say, take it however you want it. If you want to go completely novice and just go, I like this, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
Then if it's more of a one-on-one situation, I enjoy sitting down and going, okay, why don't you like it?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you like about it? What is it that you don't like about it? Try to pick those tiny things apart,
Mm-hmm.
and then I help people kind of explore or open up the gates of kind of finding those notes in it, where it's just so much fun to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, what my favorite thing to do is to drink with, if you've ever gotten the opportunity, her name on Instagram is so hard for me to remember, but Wendy from Penelope.
Okay.
She is by far probably one of my favorite people to taste whiskey with. She can pick apart notes so elegantly,
Yeah.
and so roundly awesome, that I'm just like this. No, just keep going.
Yeah.
Please. I'm just listening to it all. That's like, from it's good to her level
Mm-hmm.
is so fun to find different people that can do different things. Sorry, I have a tendency of rambling.
No worries at all. That's the whole point of this, is to hear your perspective and where you're coming from. And everything's been great so far. So feel free to ramble and to expand on any of the questions I have for you. Now, you said the Ardbeg No was the first one that kind of got you on Instagram. What was the first bottle of whiskey that really clicked with you in general, saying, "Oh, I really like this whiskey. I want to explore more"?
So this is the funny part. All right. I had, when I was around 23 years old,
Mm-hmm.
was when I actually had a bar in my house. Nothing like this. It
Yeah.
was a bar. We started to rent a house. And in that house had an old, beautiful bar that we absolutely loved. And I wish I was still at that bar, because my social media would be so much better at that bar.
Yeah.
But I used to keep things on the back shelf, rums and so forth. I'm in Florida, so it's easy to grab rums. From usual whiskeys, like just the mixing stuff, the Jack Daniels, it was a bottle of McClellan's Isla.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not the most like profound and layered whiskey on the face of the planet, and relatively inexpensive as well. I
Yeah.
think at the time it was like only like maybe $25 to $35. But I grabbed it because I was like, I want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried it. I had the McClellan's Lowlands, I believe it was at the time, and it wasn't my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
But the freaking Isla punched me in the face with that peatiness, the brininess, a little bit of salt, and I was like, ooh, let's keep going. And
Yeah.
then it opens up into this like dark, I always say dark, but like a deep or a aged raisin.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, almost like a fig,
Mm-hmm.
but deeper.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I could start telling complexity because of that very easy Isla like blend.
Yeah.
So from there is when it kind of went downhill. Then it was all the Johnny Walkers. By the
Mhm.
way, my favorite is green. I I'm not a blue fan. Sorry for anybody out there. Gold Reserve is pretty decent. And then into, Highland, Bayside, all of those other. So,
Now, any guesses to what distillery that McClelland came from?
if I couldn't even tell you.
It's that long ago.
I don't think I've had it in. I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was like maybe 23. I probably went through that bottle and a second or third, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That would be 28. Yeah, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not the first person I've heard that kind of a peated whiskey got them engaged in the whiskey world, where for some reason it was so unique that it just kind of clicked with them, and they're like, oh, I want to find out more about this stuff. So, I've got a friend on here, Mark Morrison, and over the weekend I recommended the Lechik 10-year-old, which has a similarly interesting, complex peated coastal profile to it. It's another great one to enjoy. I'm sure you've had that one many times.
I haven't. Truthfully,
No. Oh wow.
I've watched many of your videos. I'm like, I need to get that and that, and so where I live is the Scotch selection. There's only a very few places that have really good Scotch selection.
Okay.
And to buy from there usually means you're going to spend some money,
Yeah.
right? I got lucky enough and found a No Name 2.
All right, that's a good one.
Literally this year.
Yeah.
Or last year, sorry. A No Name 2,
Yeah.
and it was around like the $200 price range. Right?
Yeah, that's steep.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think MSRP on it's like 125, 130 somewhere.
Yeah, right around there.
So I was like, look, I buy a lot from you. What
Yeah.
can we do? So they got it down to about 165.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, I can do that. Let's do that. It was sitting on the back. The can's damaged. You're going to be fine. Here you go. Have a great day. So, like, finding out of the ordinary for us is, like, Loch Lomond is something that a lot of people are like, we need you to try it. We need you to try it. We need you to try it. Only recently have I even seen it pop up in the stores.
Wow, that's surprising because you see Loch Lomond everywhere here. I mean, it's basically the standard. It's not it's on the bottom shelf, but it's not a bottom shelf whiskey.
Right.
It's the standard like $30 or $30 12-year-old go to. I mean, it's such a nice whiskey for the price you're paying. That's shocking that they that was the price that you guys haven't been seeing it around there.
Oh, exactly. I don't know. I saw an old-aged one, older.
Yeah.
I think it was like in the 20s or 30s.
Wow.
And they were asking for somewhere like around 189, almost $200 for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that.
It's almost suspicious.
Today I saw one of the cheaper ones that was like around $40.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I should pick this up. And then I saw, I mean, you could take my Scotch card away from me. I saw they had the Buffalo Trace kosher rye recipe. So I was like, I'm going to grab that instead.
No, that's if that's where your palate was reaching you, then that's fine. But yeah, Loch Lomond is one of the best value scotches out there. It's gone up in price a little bit, but up until recently, even their 18-year-old was around $65-$70, and for a 46% ABV, fairly complex, interesting whiskey, that's a ridiculously good price for it. So it's definitely one to keep an eye out on.
Oh, well, it's still on my list, so trust me, I will be grabbing a bottle at some point in time.
And have you opened that No Name 2 yet, or is that still closed on the shelf?
We popped it because the day I bought that, a buddy of mine bought the Black Arts.
Okay.
So I was like, I'll pop that if you pop that.
Yeah.
And they're like, that is nowhere near that. And I'm like, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So we popped that, and we popped the Black Arts, and we tried them separately but together.
Yeah.
And we had a good night that night.
Oh yeah, and both of those are great whiskeys. I mean, the Black Arts, they're from batch to batch will vary a little bit, but yeah, you're paying a premium for that. That's $300, $350, $400. That's not a cheap bottle of whiskey.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, I know. The luckiest I've gotten, or the closest I've even gotten to that, is the Octomores, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like I said before, we don't see a lot of Brooklighty here in the Tampa area, and when we do, they're usually the unattainable, right? Like, I can walk into a Total Wine and get the usual Port Charlotte, the classic Laddie. I got lucky and grabbed you can't see it, but there's an OLC 01 back there.
Yeah.
Unbelievably good whiskey.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Once they're out, people just scoop them all up.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a fierce community out there. I mean, here there's definitely a
Big
small community of whiskey because I live up just outside New York City. But I mean, just last summer there was the No Name Number One just sitting on a shelf in Long Island for $120. I picked up 2 bottles naturally because.
Hell yeah.
And the No Name, in my opinion, the No Name Number One is the best of the 3.
Yeah.
So, and that one's the 75% Ardbeg, like 14-year-old Ardbeg. It's such an incredible whiskey, and it's just sitting there collecting dust for half a decade on Long Island. I'm thinking, what are people doing? They're just walking by this, going for like the
Right?
Johnny Walkers and all these popular names that they don't actually see that there's a hidden gem on the shelf.
Exactly. If I ran into a no-name one, even if they wanted to charge me $200 for it, I'd probably pay for it.
Yeah, and honestly, the drinking experience is probably worth $200, to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I have like maybe a finger or 2 of No Name 3 left.
Yeah.
I have most of my bottle of No Name. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, I said No Name 3, right?
Yeah.
No Name 3, I have a little bit of. No Name 2, I have. It's drank.
Yeah.
Some people drank from it, so it's a little bit gone, but not anywhere near the No Name 3. No Name 1, I've never even had.
All right. Well, you know what? Next time I pop it open, I will save you a dram. I'll send it off to you because I think I have 2 unopened bottles now. So at some point I'll reopen it. And I did just open up the 3, which I liked a lot too. But the 3 is really nice. Did you like the 3 better than the 2, or did you have a preference between the 2?
So I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Did you like the 3 better than the 2?
I liked, actually, for some reason, I like 2 more than 3.
Okay.
Now, on the 3, I mean, granted, I did a tasting with the 3.
Yeah.
Because we were going over the different ones. We have the Phenomenology.
Yeah.
So we went back and forth with Phenomenology and No Name 3. The No Name 3 was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenology is unbelievably floral. But No Name 2, for some reason, I liked the richer, like, I don't want to say cinnamon. There's definitely a spice to it that you just don't get from the No Name 3, or as much of the No Name 3, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the formulas are completely different, obviously. I mean, you have the Lafroig-based one is the 3, the Kalila-based one is the 2. So sometimes it depends on what your distillery preference is. But both are excellent, great whiskeys that are hard to find nowadays and that are definitely worth picking up if you can find it at the right price.
You can't stop me. If I see Compass Box on something, I'm probably going to pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, they're just. Have you tried any of their Flaming Hearts?
Yeah, I have. I don't even know which one I have. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I have, and it's not within bottle shops. It's actually behind the No Name 1 and 2, or the 3 and 2 over there.
So hidden behind the shelf back there.
Yeah, the Flaming Heart I have. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I just don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it was if I had to guess, it'd probably be the 2018 release, but because that was the one that was all over everywhere. But it's
more than likely.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I don't believe it's one of like the limiteds or anything like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything special. I didn't pay like $170 for it or anything.
Yeah, no, which is good. All right, I've got one more question for you before we jump into our next dram. So outside the whiskey world, what do you do for a living?
I'm actually a regional manager, so I oversee a group of people in the field.
Okay.
Nationwide. So I'm actually up in Jersey a lot.
All right.
So I cover most of the East Coast. So it's fun times going up and down. Finding out, going into retailers, talking with people. Like, my job is to literally talk to people.
Yeah.
Whether it's my people in the field, or the people that we work with, clientele and other things like that. So it's a fun job to have because I do get to travel and I get to talk to all kinds of. And my biggest thing is, how desk jobs just become unbelievably mundane after a while. It's just repetition, same things over and over again.
Yep.
With my position, there's really rarely ever a time when I'm doing the same thing every single day.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and it's nice to get to travel. And if you're ever up in the New York City area, let me know. Maybe we can try to meet up and share some drams.
Yeah. Well, like, my family's from Jersey.
Okay.
Most of my family lives, or half of my family still lives in Jersey. The other half lives down here. My wife's family lives in Long Island. So we were up there not too long ago visiting Long Island. No, there's a bunch. I want to get to everybody. I want to go up to Jersey. I want to go up to New York and meet up with a couple of people, Long Island guys, and what is his name? Gosh, Whiskey New York or New York Whiskey.
Yeah.
he's got an unbelievable selection as well.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And next time you're in Long Island visiting your wife's family, seek out some of the stores up there because you can find some insane values for whiskeys you thought were long gone. I mean, it's crazy how these old bottles just collect dust on the shelves in Long Island for good prices too. It's crazy. So yeah, do a little research.
I should have done it. We did literally, because we were hanging out with family the whole time we were up there. I did zero whiskey hunting on Long Island. We got to D.C. because it was a trip. We road tripped all the way up to Long Island. We stayed there for a few days. We then road tripped down to D.C. on the way back home and stayed in D.C. for a few days. I did whiskey shopping in D.C.
Yeah.
Like a weirdo because the prices in D.C. are like ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just to give you an example, like I found a Joseph Magnus cigar batch or cigar blend for like $400.
That's
like what?
No. Yeah, that's
I could
ridiculous.
find that for cheaper in Florida.
And you said you're from Jersey originally?
Yeah. So, excuse me. I was born in Jersey originally, and then we moved down here when I was like 3.
Okay.
So half of my dad's side of the family mostly all still live in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
My mother's side of the family lives down here in Florida, or I should say we're all scattered about the eastern United States right now.
All right. Was it South Jersey, North Jersey, like just?
I would say more of the South Jersey or mid Jersey.
Yeah.
I still have family that are over in. Oh my God, I can't remember the name. I'll remember it'll pop into my head at some point in time. Like it starts with an H, and I can't remember what it is. But I was relatively close to like my family was close to like Neptune, East Brunswick,
all right,
the whole area over there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's very cool. All right, Ardbeg 10. You ready for it?
It's in hand already.
Yeah, this is like the go-to recommendation for people who want to try an Islay Scotch whiskey for a reasonable price. I mean, it's got all the specs you're looking for, 46%. It's got 10 years of age. Ex-bourbon, which I think is ex-bourbon's the way to go for trying out a new distillery because it gets more of the classic distillate flavor profile from an ex-bourbon over a sherry or something like that. And this one just never fails to deliver a nice drinking experience.
Oh, never.
Yeah, this one's really nice.
I mean, if you haven't noticed, I love Ardbeg.
Yeah.
Like, Ardbeg, if they ever came knocking, I'd be like, yes, what can I help you with?
Yeah.
Anything. Ask. Like, we had the what was it called? Oh my God, what is that? The Ardcore. The Ardcore threw me for a loop.
I've heard great things about the Ardcore.
It's great. It's sweet, but it is, when I tell you the color on it is pale, that is an understatement.
So it almost looks like new make.
Right. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And the smell on it even is very close to it. It's very musky, but sweet. You get like a bit of strawberry in there, which that's what threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
Was that strawberry note that came out on it. And I was just like, what is happening here?
Mm-hmm.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've had Ardbeg 10 in a while, and it's just so good. It's just such a nice Islay whiskey.
You know, it brings me back.
Is Ardbeg your favorite distillery on Islay?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now it's a pretty decent fight between the top two because Ardbeg, to me, they do some real fun things back in the day where it was just basic 10. You get your basic committee releases. You get some Corey Bacon or Udall, which are fantastic.
Yeah.
Don't get for the price even. Like, I don't even know the Scotch that's, for me personally, around $80 to $90 that will knock your socks off.
Yeah.
Right? Those two are my top two.
Mm-hmm.
The other difficult thing is Brook-Laddie, because I love Brook-Laddie as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fan of Brook-Laddie. We start talking Islas, and I'm just like, I love a lot.
Yeah.
Even Lagavulin. Lagavulin to me is where, if you want to talk about a relatively lighter side of Isla, you go with the Lagavulin. That 11-year Offerman Guinness.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
When everybody was like, that is poised for Whiskey of the Year type of deal.
Yeah.
I believed it.
Yeah.
Like, I thoroughly thought that was a really good whiskey, especially because the first one was kind of okay.
Yeah. Have you had the third one yet? The heavily charred?
The charred? I've had the charred oak. I don't have a bottle of it. and actually I turned a bottle of it down today.
Uh,
I should have bought it.
Was it
I
a?
should've-
Well, it depends on the price, of course. What was the price they were
It
asking?
was 98.
Ooh, that's pricey. You can
Yeah.
get that for around 70 here. So that at $70 you buy it.
Damn.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, $70.
The lowest I've seen it here locally in Tampa is a place called Gaspar's, which is where I buy most of my Scotch whiskey. Their selection is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Gaspar's had it for $89.99.
Yeah, and even that's a little pricey. I usually see it here for about $80, and there's a couple of places I've seen it for $70. So it's I guess the prices here are just a little bit more competitive, we'll say.
Yeah, if you put in a Tampa zip code into Total Wine, and your head will explode.
Yeah.
I think Total Wine and More has it for like $120, and they're mainly like around MSRP most of the time.
Yeah, that's insane because that's not too far off from their 12-year-old cask strength, which for me is one of my favorite annual expressions. And I'm sure the 12-year-old cask strength in Florida probably pushing 200 plus, but that one is ridiculously good.
If you can find it.
If you can find it, of course.
Yeah, that's the problem. Let me push this over. We're gonna stick that bad boy right back there.
Yeah. So you like bourbon, you like Scotch. If you had to pick just one to drink for the rest of your life, are you picking bourbon or Scotch?
Oh my God, there's going to be so many people. If anybody watches this, I apologize. If anybody's watching this, there's at least 50 we can count. I'm going Scotch.
Yeah.
The reason why is Scotch makes me hunt for things.
Yeah.
Right? Bourbon is delicious. Don't get me wrong. The exception is a bad Scotch to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a cigar. I'm a big cigar guy.
Yeah.
So I can sit down. I can smoke hundreds of cigars a year, and out of those hundreds of cigars, there's maybe one or two that just are not good cigars. We're drinking on the Ardbeg 10 right
Yeah, I was just showing them the picture.
So, like, you can't find really a bad cigar out there. There's not so great ones, but there's never a bad one.
Yeah.
Right? Scotch, for me, I know what to look for and what not to look for. So I'm not a huge fan of, like, the Johnny Walker Red Labels. But even, like, Monkey Shoulder, Tomatin 12, I'll even say Cutty Sark.
Yeah.
Like, some of it still allows you to sit back, read through it all, find out the layers, and just enjoy it. Right? Bourbons can tend to be, I want to say something that I don't want it to come off as rude. Bourbons can tend to be kind of one-noted, one-sided.
Yep.
You got your cherry, you got your caramel, you got your oak, you got your vanilla, you got, like, they tend to be either one sweeter than the other, one spicier than the other, but overall, all of them are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Right? You get like a Joseph Magnus or a Remus or a Russell's, 14-year that just blows your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I love the idea of American single malts. Hopefully, that we can find some crazy, wild things within these American single malts, like Virginia distilling, like we're going to try in a little here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no.
If I had to pick it, Scotch.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. I mean, I'm not as big of a bourbon drinker as you are, or as most people who like both whiskeys. But for me, it's about the flavor gamuts of the two types of whiskey. Whereas Scotch is, you can taste 10 different Scotches that taste completely different from each other. Like you said, the bourbon's flavor profile all have similarities, so there's not much difference from one to the next. And I think that's the biggest draw to Scotch, is that you can experience more things with those whiskeys.
Absolutely. And I think a little bit has to do with not necessarily just bourbon in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of sourcing happening.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think that a lot of these blenders out there are doing a great job with blending. But you see more wider variety of flavors coming from American rye whiskey,
Mm-hmm.
more so than you do see bourbon.
Yeah.
Right? And it could be because it's so darn strict within the guidelines of what bourbon has to be.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
But finishing, just like Scotch, finishing in bourbons tends to help a little bit with some wider varieties. It's going to be fun to see where it all goes, 10 years down the line.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the more interesting bourbons I've had recently was the Barrel Bourbon Vantage, which has that unique several types of different finishes on it, which is really nice. It adds a nice dynamic to a bourbon that I hadn't really experienced before. So I think I like that direction where they're going with the bourbons when they experiment a little with it.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, so I have barrel 32, 33, and 34.
All right, so yeah, he.
All three of those
Yeah,
are different.
that's great. That I
Which is
mean,
great,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You get one that's super nutty, you get one that's super cherry, and you get one that's super caramel.
Yeah,
So it's like the three of them are, I mean, Barrel's doing a great job.
yeah, yeah. They are, and they're highlighting how bourbon can be unique and differentiate from each other. So that's what they need. Bourbon to continue pushing the line, try to develop products that we haven't had before.
Absolutely.
So this one might also be a challenging question for you. If you had to pick just one distillery as your favorite distillery, which one are you going with?
So what I usually say to this is depends on where we're talking.
Yeah.
If we're going strictly Scotch,
Yeah.
My favorite is Ardbeg, but that doesn't mean it will be Ardbeg.
Yeah.
I like a lot more variety. With Ardbeg, don't get me wrong, you do get variety, but you don't get a wild difference.
Yeah.
Right? I think with somebody like Brookladdy,
Mm-hmm.
you do get a very wild. You can find a cheap bottle that's good.
Yeah.
And you can find an expensive bottle that's like, I would probably pay more for this.
Yeah.
So I would say one of my favorite distilleries, or one of the distilleries I would want to get to at some point in time, not only the rich history and everything about it, would be Brookladdy,
Mm-hmm.
from of course the island of Isla.
Yeah.
But if we're talking the United States, one of my favorite distilleries to this day that I've visited has been Sagamore Spirit.
Okay. Yeah.
They just, it's just absolutely gorgeous. The city of Baltimore, it has such a bad rap for what we stayed there for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
We saw the distillery. We saw the farm, Sagamore Farm. It was one of my favorite experiences. Like, I would do it again in a second.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a distillery I'll have to add to my list to check out, for sure.
So good.
And I know what you mean about the Brookladdy. I mean, they do a lot of unique cask makeups, a lot of unique distillation, and then you obviously have the Octomore peated stuff and the mostly unpeated. So that is a great one. Actually, I just got a bottle of Brookladdy 16-year-old, their classic Laddie 16, which I'm really excited to try once it gets delivered to me.
It would be great if I ever even see anything like that. And you know what I hate with bourbons? We can find whatever we want.
Yeah.
Like, if you want a distillery edition of something, find somebody in the state, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult if you do not have a hookup in Scotland, or you're not willing to pay, or even in the UK, and you're not willing to pay like a $70 to $100 shipping cost.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to get that.
Yeah, I mean, the key with buying abroad is you have to buy a bunch of bottles, because that cuts down on the marginal shipping costs. You know, the first bottle is like $50, and then the second one's only $10 more, the third one's $10 more. So if you get a group of friends, you can get enough bottles so that the marginal price per bottle is like $15 to $20, which isn't terrible, because you're paying the ex-VAT price too. You're not paying the tax that you have to pay if you live in the UK, so you already get a discount. So some of that gets built into the shipping cost, and it actually ends up not being terrible if you look around a little bit and shop around.
I can hear my wife downstairs going, "No."
It's like, yeah, what are you telling him? These are all lies. Don't listen to him.
No, you can't do that. Don't buy any more.
It's a slippery slope. You know, as you know, buying whiskey is a slippery slope. You always want to try different ones and buy more.
Oh man, it is impossible. My dog's going nuts. Sorry if you can hear that.
No, I can't hear it at all. So, your mics are doing a good job muting that. And it's also stay away from auction too, because once you jump into the auction world and all the unique bottles they have, it's like, ooh, that can put a dent in your wallet. So you have to be careful.
I see the auctions from time to time. Some of the prices that go out for the auctions, like, they start off unbelievably well. And
you're like, oh yeah.
Ooh, let me see where this is gonna go, and then all of a sudden it's like, that's nowhere near where I would pay for that.
Yeah. So what's your favorite cask type for a Scotch whiskey? Like ex-bourbon?
Type?
Yeah, sherry, bourbon, some sort of wine. Like, what's your go-to?
So this is going to be funny, but it's usually going to be a Highland Scotch with a Caribbean cask, or like a rum.
All right, yeah.
I think the finish is, I think they balance well with each other.
Yeah.
Right. With Highlands, mostly, I shouldn't say that, because now there are peated Highland Scotches. There are all kinds of weird, crazy abominations to Highland Scotch, but there is those things out there now. But with that normal, that atypical, what used to be the standard Highland Scotch with like that raisin, apple, honey, floralness to it. I think it just goes really well with like that sweet Caribbean cask or rum cask or however you want to say it. Like the Balvenie 12 years is I mean, you can see it over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Is an absolute banger to me.
Yeah.
And it's really one of those types of whiskeys where when somebody comes to me and they're like, "Hey, I absolutely hate Scotch," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, you're telling me that you don't like Scotch. We're gonna find one that you like.
Yeah.
Trust me. And that's where I kind of go to. I go to the Caribbean cask, or I go to things like ex-bourbon casks. But from a Scotch whiskey, I don't get a lot of the bourbon cask from a Scotch whiskey. I get the sherry cask, I get the port cask, I get a rum cask, and I just like to try. I like to find those different flavors. But the rum, 100% rum, is probably one of my favorite finishes.
Yeah, no, I think that's. I love rum matured or rum finished Scotch whiskeys too. In fact, I've got a. Do you like Campbelltown whiskey, Springbank? Are you a fan of that?
I've had some Springbank. I don't mind them. I think they're probably one of the only Campbelltowns that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot. You don't have a lot of choices. You know, you got Springbank, Glengyle, and
region.
Yeah. But I've got the Long Row 17-year-old that's matured fully in rum cask, because that is an absolutely unbelievable whiskey. I mean, just the sweetness paired with that Campbelltown funk and the unique peat that they have in Springbank. It's just an all-time great for me. And it's one that I'm slowly drinking because it's so good. You can't go to it too often. But to your point, rum cask I do think really can add a nice dimension to any Scotch whiskey.
Yeah, it goes really well with Scotch.
Yeah, and I think that Balvenie 14 you were mentioning, that's like one of the ultimate gateway whiskeys for beginners. It was one of the first bottles I ever bought that got me into whiskey, and so many other people I know, that's one of the first bottles they buy. It's like, ooh, I really like this. It adds that nice sweetness that makes it more approachable for me.
And it's not a terrible price either.
No.
Like, you can get it for around $60, like easy all day, every day. The one thing, actually, that's the 12 double wood that I pointed at. There's the Caribbean cask back there.
Yeah.
I heard actually they were getting rid of it. Like, it's discontinued.
I didn't hear that. So now would be the time to stock up and then sell them on auction later to support more of your whiskey collection.
There we go.
All right, last question before we jump into our next dram. If you have the answer, how many bottles do you have in your collection?
I don't have an answer. I really wish I did. So what I've been telling people is anywhere between 400 and 600.
Okay.
The reason why I say that, okay?
Yeah.
You can't see it here for everybody that's watching at home. All of this here, up, down, and then it's over here, up, down. Like, that's not a lot, right?
Yeah.
I have some in my closet over here, my overflow. On the floor,
geez. Yeah.
over here. There's some if anybody's been following me on TikTok for a while, or they're in the Tater Nation is what we call it.
Yeah.
They know my bathroom that's right here. This is my office / studio / whatever. I work out of this place all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
In my bathroom that's right over here, there is whiskey in the tub, bottles in the tub. And then I also have a curio downstairs that's also filled with bottles of whiskey.
Yeah.
And yes, the majority of those are because I'm just out and about, going into a liquor store, going, I wonder what they have in here. Let me just stop in and see. And then you feel like, well, I'm here. I might as well buy something.
Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely. I can relate to that for sure.
Oh, Kenny's in here. What's up, Kenny?
Yeah, at a certain point, you'll have to count your bottles by weight, like Walter White's money in Breaking Bad. He can't. It's too much money to count. So it's like, all right, let's just weigh this and see where we're at. Get a ballpark figure here.
I used to. So like when you sent me your list, I was like, oh man, that just reminds me, I have to update.
Yeah.
Like I usually do an inventory because it's not a flex. Don't let me, please, if this ever sounds like a flex to anybody, it's actually a curse.
Yeah.
I have friends that'll be like, hey, I'm going to throw a party. And I'm like, great, what do you want?
Yeah.
And they're just like, whatever bottles you're willing to get rid of. How about you come upstairs, you look in the closet, you look behind me, you look downstairs, whatever bottles you want, like you're going to make a freezer door cocktail of some sort with whiskey or rye or bourbon or scotch or whatever, feel free.
Yeah.
Just whatever you want to grab. It doesn't make a damn dent.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make a dent. It drives me crazy sometimes because also, you know, I review things.
Yeah.
So from time to time, a bottle will show up at my door, and I'm like, okay, something else to review. But it's hard to keep track of everything.
It is very hard.
So unbelievably hard. They need to just a scanner system, beep, and then we're off to the race.
That's actually not a bad idea. I like that idea.
I think Distiller does it.
Yeah.
I have to check.
Yeah, I think they do that. And what percentage of those bottles are open? Are most of them open? All of them open?
I'm going to tell you right now, besides the ones that are for review.
Yeah.
Because I do those as they kind of come in, and that's a lot right now. It's going to be, I'm going to give you a how would I say this? An acute estimate of probably 75 to 80%.
All right. So you try most of them.
Yeah. So I don't have a collection of whiskey.
Yeah.
I have a selection of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Everything here can be open. Everything here should be open.
Yeah.
If I stopped buying whiskey and people would stop sending me stuff, I would immediately, all of these things would be open by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Right? There's only one bottle, maybe two, in my entire selection of whiskey that will never be opened because one is for my son.
Mm-hmm.
It is his birthday bottle,
Yeah.
essentially. It was distilled when he was born, and it was bottled when he turned 16.
Oh,
and
wow.
we happened to be at Heaven Hill
Yeah.
when they released it.
Yeah.
So we were able to buy a bottle.
That's awesome.
So that is bottle of Old Fitzgerald over there.
Yeah.
And then the bottle of, you might be able to see it here, there's a bottle of Sagamore Spirit Rye.
Yep, I see it.
This one here was the first annual, or the first, I'll say, inaugural
Yeah.
Creators Cast
Yeah.
that I was a part of with Whiskey Nomad, Sarah Whiskey Nomad, Leandro, who is the Educated Barfly, and Shannon, the brew brother.
Yeah.
And we all went to Sagamore. We picked this. It was a fun experience. And I probably won't ever open this just because it's like
Yeah.
one of the first barrel picks that a company was like, hey, we would really like to work with you guys and try these out. And it's damn good.
Yeah, of course.
I've gone through 3 bottles myself. I bought 5, and we've drank 3.
Yeah.
So I have one open right there that's still a little bit less, and one that's not open.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I agree with you. Whiskey is meant to be opened, and enjoyed. But there are 2 reasons why I don't open all my bottles. So I sent you about 100 that I have open. I've got about 330 bottles total. And there's 2 reasons why. The first one is that the more I have open, the longer it takes me to get rid of bottles. So then my collection will just grow infinitely. Like as you know, you got some in your bathtub. You're bathing with bottles of whiskey. And number 2 is that I buy insurance on a lot of my bottles, and you can't insure it if it's opened. So if I have a massive loss, the house burns down, at least I'll have some insurance on my bottle on some of my unopened bottles. So those are the 2 main.
Dang good idea.
I know. Every day, because I'm an actuary. I work in insurance. So every day I would walk in my collection, I would be like, I need to insure this because something could happen, and I don't want to lose all that asset. It's an asset right now. So those are the 2 main reasons I don't open everything at once.
So you're just. I have to ask. It's just a basic like a policy through Lloyd's of London.
So I go through. It's similar to that, but I go through a broker who uses Chubb Insurance, which is an insurance company. Yeah,
okay.
And yeah, it's a specialty insurance. You have to take a picture of the front and back of all your bottles, type in the estimated value, and then they'll quote you a price. And it was reasonable for a year of insurance. So those are the 2 main reasons why, because I'm insuring myself against a loss, and then I can get rid of bottles because I don't have everything. I don't have too many options to choose from. 100's more than enough too. So
Oh yeah. No, trust me. So before I do what I did now, or before I did what I do now. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I was actually in insurance.
Okay.
So I did insurance for about 10, 15 years. It's just personal lines.
Yeah.
Commercial lines, things like that. We did life insurance, all that fun
Okay.
stuff. So I'm familiar with that.
So were you an underwriter? Like, was that your role?
No,
All right.
No, I was just a sales agent.
All right.
Like basic. I got into it when I was 18, and it was easy money at 18 years old. And then you grow up and you're like, yeah, unless I go up, there's not a lot of money to come from it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I'm an actuary, so I do the math
Right.
behind the property and casualty, excess and surplus insurance. So it's an interesting lot. It's interesting stuff for sure. If you
Absolutely.
if you like that kind of stuff, if you like math, it's a good direction to go in.
I always tell people, if you like to be bored, get into insurance.
It's not too far off the truth, but the good thing about insurance is that everybody always needs it, so you always have a job.
Always need it.
Yes, it's job security for sure.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump into that Virginia Distilling Company, and we've got the cask strength. I got cask number 1260. I'm sure you have a different one. It'd be shocking if we had the same cask.
Right, wouldn't it? I have 1222.
Okay, so mine, I'm sure yours have similar stats. Mine's a 4-year-old, obviously matured in cuvee casks, and a 4-year-old American single malt in Virginia is probably similar to a much older whiskey in Scotland.
I don't even know any stats on this one. I know it's 42 or 59.2 proof.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, not proof, percent alcohol by volume.
And which cask number did you say it was?
1222.
Let's see if I can quickly look it up, see if they have it on their website.
Information on it.
Well, that's where I found out my information. I just Googled it. It was on their website.
Okay.
But I don't see 1222 on there. But I'm sure all their cask strengths are similar specs. I'm sure it's about a 4-year-old whiskey.
And I love this. I just literally posted that video on it today.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed this out to me, and if I could remember their name, I would immediately call them out. But the fact that you can get the cask number and everything off the little coin, is it's so cool.
Yeah, it really is cool.
Thing.
Yeah.
This is actually a fresh spot for me.
Oh, all right.
I've had the cuvee.
Yeah.
I've had the cuvee in the standard. I've never had the single cask, so this is the first time for me.
And did you get this? Because I had to get this one in the state of Virginia. Is that where you got yours as well?
Oh, my God.
That's a nice pop right there.
Yes. This is where it was found.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because from my understanding, they only sell their cask strength in the state of Virginia. So I have family who lives down there. I was perusing one of their ABC stores, and I was like, "Ooh, the cask strength version." It was a little pricey. It was like $120 or something like that. But my brother agreed to split it with me, so we ended up with it. And it's a solid whiskey. And I do like their bottling. Presentation is very nice.
Right? I don't think there's nothing about them that says they're cutting corners.
No, without a no.
That's the beautiful thing that I like about it. One of the cool things that I've absolutely enjoyed about all the Courage and Conviction line, the VA Distilling guys, all of that jazz, I've tried them over a couple years ago. It was like 2 or 3 years ago at like a bourbon barbecue thing in Tampa.
Yeah.
And immediately fell in love with every single one of their things. The sherry cask is so unbelievably candied.
Mm-hmm.
The bourbon cask, that's actually, you get more of the bourbon cask from the American single malts than you would say from a standard Scotch single malt.
Yeah.
And then Cuvée has this wonderful funk on it.
Yeah, it does.
And it's just so, it's on the palate or on the nose, it comes across as funky. And then on the palate, it gets sweet funk, which is really nice too. So I'm like, I'm all game. So this is the first time I've had a 59.2% alcohol by volume cuvee.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear what you think of it. And you're right, Virginia Distillery Company is definitely doing it right. It's one of the better American single malts out there. There's a new American single malt distillery just north of me in New York, in Passaic, New York, called 10 Mile Distillery. And they're the first distillery in the United States to bring over a Scotch distiller, a Scotsman from Wolfburn. The former master distiller at Wolfburn Distillery came over. He's their master distiller now, and they went around to all the different American single malts, and they're like, a lot of these places, they're just not doing it right. But one of the few places they said was doing it right was the Virginia Distillery Company. So this is good, definitely good stuff. So what's your impressions on your first taste?
I like it.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
That's literally the first impression. The
Yeah.
first impression is I like it.
Yeah.
That funk carries over from the nose, from the aromas,
Yeah.
right? And then he immediately goes into that sweetness. That's great. Doing it just on camera would do it no justice. Sitting down and actually feeling this out, this literally coats the tongue.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful expression that coats the tongue unbelievably well. And I'm not saying like an oily finish, because it's not oily, because it's actually very clean finish, but it coats so well, and then it rolls back to the back palate, which is so fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what? It is. I've had a single pot still from Talnua that is very. I wouldn't say similar. Don't get me wrong. The funk is similar.
Yeah.
Is what I. But overall, I like this a lot.
Yeah, I like it too. But it leads into my next question. How do you see American single malts as a category in whiskey? Because here's a challenge with it: is that it's it's not quite Scotch whiskey. It's obviously not bourbon, and the price point for right now is fairly significant compared to comparable or even better Scotch whiskeys in general. So how do you see it in the marketplace? Do you see it growing? Or people adapting to it? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's great that you asked.
Yes.
I've said at the beginning of this year that this was I do this every year, so I apologize to everybody that follows along with me and listens to my rants and raves and BS. Last year I said was the year of rye, right?
Yeah.
And we saw things like Old Ezra Rye. Penelope came out with a Tokai Rye. So there were a lot of bourbon companies pushing out rye whiskeys.
Yep.
And I said 2023 is 100% the year of the ASM.
Yep.
Right? American single malts. I love it because, again, coming from an Irish and Scotch background, where I love these either half malts, single malts, blended malts, you name it, I enjoy them because of their complexity. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of text messages all at the same time.
No worries. It doesn't come across on the feed. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't?
It does not.
Good. I'm sorry. I'm always worried that you guys are just listening to me and then it cuts out.
No.
I love single malts, or I love malted whiskeys, right? The problem that I see with the United States, until we can get a category in place, rules abide, everybody agreeing, which the American Single Malt Society, American Single Malt, Association, I can't remember the name of them, association, whatever it may be, they're all working to make that happen, right? They all want it to be the exact same kind of category that you would find in Scotland. Right, one distiller made of malted barley and put it out there. What we do in the United States, which is kind of funky, is the best way of putting it, is we experiment a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of malted corn bourbon. There's a lot of malted rye whiskeys out there that technically could call themselves a single malt.
Yeah.
Right? If they did all malted rye, granted funky, but all malted rye could tend to be a single malt whiskey, right?
Yeah.
And as of right now, you can do that. So this is where I think this is going. The fact that Limestone Branch is putting out an American single malt for Yellowstone.
Yeah.
The fact that Jack Daniels is doing or has done an American single malt. We have a lot of these companies looking into doing American single malts. I think American single malts as a category is only going to get bigger. And then once the rules and regulations and laws all pop into place, I think the category will become more defined and people will start giving it the time of day.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that 2023 is that year that we start seeing these Virginia distilleries or just Virginia distillery push out all of this stuff, right? Some of the other brands out there, I've tried Whiskey Del Bach, unbelievably good, right? So I need to see more of that. I can't wait to get to Yellowstone. I got a shop down the road that I'm a good friend with the owner, and he's like, I have a bottle here waiting for you, just waiting for you to get down here.
Yeah.
So once I get one, I can't wait. And if I ever get the opportunity to try that Jack twice barreled American single malt, I'll let everybody know what my feelings are on that. So, I think as a category, I think it's going to blow up.
Yeah, and from what I hear, that bourbon drinkers are the ones who are actually adopting it more so than Scotch whiskey drinkers. So, and that's why Jack Daniels and some of these other big distilleries are adopting and expanding and releasing some of this whiskey. And then with that point, you'll have these large productions making it, and that'll definitely bring the price down. So, the curious people who don't want to spend, I mean, like the Virginia Distillery Company, the standard release of this is what, $75-$80, and that's a bit to spend on a whiskey you're not sure of a brand new category.
But you could start off with something like Stranahan's,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Stranahan's out of Colorado. You can pick up a bottle of their yellow label stuff or their Blue Peak for anywhere between 40 and, I'm sorry, I think the cheapest one they had that I've seen is like 35-ish.
Yeah.
All the way up to about $50. You could start with that. And I can tell people right now, because I've done this on my TikTok lives, where I'll take a bottle of Stranahan's and I'll put it up against just the standard VA Distillery Company American Single Malt, the one I just did a slam stitch for today.
Yeah.
And I can tell them, like, look, for around $40, this is a great bottle. Don't get me wrong. But this, for almost double, will knock your socks off in comparison, because when you compare the two together, there's a wild difference with that $80 bottle.
Yeah.
Right? You get the deep richness of flavor, where on one, again, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's lighter.
Yeah.
And brighter than what you would get from, say, a simple, or from the standard American single malt that's out there.
Yeah.
Or you go and you get something a little bit, I'll stop talking. What I'll say is, like, it's just like bourbon.
Yeah.
If you get a cheap bourbon, you're going to find out what it's like when you get a more expensive bourbon.
Yeah.
But again, bourbon drinkers are doing this. I think it has to do a lot with, like, hey, I'm willing to give an American single malt the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to do, expand to different categories. I guess my struggle would be an $80 bottle of Virginia Distillery Company versus like a $60 bottle of Clynelish 14-year-old, which I know is a phenomenal Scotch whiskey, and it's probably going to be better than this Virginia Distillery Company. Even though they're different, they're still single malt. So that's, I think, going to be the struggle. And I would think, I mean, I'm not a salesperson, but releasing smaller bottles with a similar price per unit would probably be a good way for people to approach it. Because if I had a 375 of this for $30-$40, I'd be like, yeah, I'll try that out. That's not, I'll give it a shot. That's not a bad price.
Yeah, give people the opportunity. I think what I just saw, Joseph Magnus is doing, like, the tiny little 200 milliliters.
Yeah,
and it looks just like a Joseph Magnus.
Yeah,
like that. For $20, am I willing to spend $100 on this bottle? Well, I could buy the $20 one to try it first.
Exactly.
And if I like it, then I can go and I can get the big bottle.
Yeah.
No, opportunity 100.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree.
But I'm excited for the category in general, because you're right. I think in 2023, I mean, this is the first year that 10 Mile Distillery that I just mentioned is coming out with their first whiskey, 3 years old. They're going to release it in April. So it's just one of a lot of new American single malts coming out. So it's an exciting category, and should be really cool to see how it grows.
Absolutely. I'm not going to lie. This Cuvée cask, this single cask is, like, ridiculous.
Yeah, when you get it at cask strength, it elevates the whole thing. It makes it that much more intriguing and more fun to play with.
The thing about it is like I said, over here I have so many different bottles to review. I actually have a single cask sherry.
Yeah.
And the bourbon.
For Virginia Distillery Company?
Yes.
Oh.
So I cannot wait to pop those now. Like, the American single malt's so good, but these finishes are ridiculous. The place I had the opportunity for is with the guys over at Bar Page.
Yeah.
So if you've ever had the opportunity to try some of their stuff, American Mash and Grain does a blend called Bar Page. I helped with them to do the blend for Volume 2.
Yeah. And
we went through Cuvée cask, we went through sherry cask, we went through bourbon cask, all from Virginia Distillery. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know darn well if you blend a couple of these together, they're going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, for sure. And this is not a finish, is it? This is fully matured in the Cuvée cask, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I got a few more questions for you here.
Do it.
When you're not drinking whiskey neat, what's your next choice of drink?
If it's like alcohol-wise?
Yeah, alcohol-wise, yeah. And not coffee or tea, alcohol-wise.
I drink 3 things in my life.
Yeah.
In the morning, I drink coffee. In the afternoon, I'm drinking water. And if it's not if it's a day where I'm either filming stuff or I'm doing stuff for social media, it's usually whiskey. Right?
Okay.
If I had to pick something that isn't whiskey as a spirit to drink, it's usually something like a rum or a tequila.
Yeah.
Those two things, honestly, I could drink. If I can drink it neat and enjoy it, I drink it neat and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not a vodka person, and I'm definitely not a gin person.
Yeah.
So those would be up my alley.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of wonderful rums out there. I mean, Foursquare, I'm sure you've had before. That's like one of the accessible top end rums you can get out there. So, I mean, that's a good choice for me too. Is rum.
Hell yeah! So Foursquare is great because now they're marketing, or not now they're marketing. They're marketing now.
Yeah.
From what I've seen recently, is actually the whiskey drinkers rum.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys got it, 100%.
Yeah.
I think somebody blinded me one time. So here's the thing, and I'm sorry. Again, I'm going off on a
No.
I got like
It's
6
fine.
of these in the mail one time
Mm-hmm.
from someone, and they were like, "I'm not telling you anything." They all had numbers on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Try them on a live on TikTok." So I was like, "No problem. I'm going to be poisoned."
Yeah.
So I poured all 6 like I usually do. I let them rest for about 10, 15 minutes each. And then we started to try through them. And some of them were really good. Well, I got to one and I was like, this is really good, but it's very sweet.
Yeah.
Like it tastes like a whiskey, but my mind is telling me that it's not a whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, because it's not. And I'm like, well, what is it? And they're like, it's Foursquare.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can get behind this.
Yeah.
And that actually is what started the whole Whiskey Guy Try series.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to try different types of spirits
Mm-hmm.
to get it, to see what I would do with it.
Yeah.
Essentially. So yeah, I can't remember who sent me that, but whoever sent me that, thank you, because
Yeah.
it started a whole series of shenanigans.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect description of Foursquare too, and other similar styles rum is the whiskey drinkers rum. I mean, bottle of cask strength, done right, no additives. I mean, it's such a wonderful crafted spirit in general.
Absolutely.
And there's another spirit that I haven't had yet, but I'm so interested in buying it. There's a liquor store by me, and it has. Are you familiar with the independent bottler Single Cask Nation?
Mm-hmm.
They have a 9-year-old mezcal cask strength that just I haven't. It's expensive, so I haven't bought it yet. But I'm like, man, that's got to be interesting. You know, they bottle pretty good stuff, and cask strength mezcal, that just sounds fascinating. So at some point, maybe even this weekend, I might try to pull the trigger with a couple of friends and give that one a shot.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just tried mezcal for the first time not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it's for a Whiskey Guy Try, so it will be coming out eventually.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking to myself, this smells like a tequila or this tastes like a tequila that was made in like an Isla Scotch way, like a peated Isla Scotch mixed or blended with a tequila.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is wild, but I kind of like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very unique.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously mezcal and tequila are the celebrity brands to go with nowadays. Every celebrity and their mother is making releasing a mezcal or tequila. So
we can't even talk about tequila anymore on TikTok. I posted one video. I did the Whiskey Guy Tries with Casamigos.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny because I'm not, like, it literally says in the beginning of these videos, Whiskey Guy Tries. I'm not a tequila guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Casamigos. I had a tequila influencer, a large tequila influencer, stitch that video. It's where you take the first part of my video and then it's in the rest of the video is him.
Yeah.
And he was like, liking Casamigos is like drinking Fireball and enjoying it. Liking Casamigos is like saying that Jack Daniels makes the best whiskey ever. And I'm just like, damn, dude, calm down.
Yeah.
All I said was I liked it. I didn't say it was the best shit ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a little pretentious. That's what you were originally trying to combat with your profile. Because, I mean, in my opinion, even the worst whiskeys, I mean, there are some pretty bad ones, but even there's something enjoyable about it. There's no reason to disparage it.
There's there's something redeemable about every whiskey out there.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, and that's the thing. What I try to do on a day-to-day basis is kind of buck the usual norms. Now, don't get me wrong, I will crap all over flavored whiskeys. I'm not a fan of flavored whiskeys.
Yeah.
Even if they're under 80 proof or 40% alcohol by volume, I'm a firm believer that shouldn't even be considered a whiskey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm not a huge fan of flavored whiskeys. Now, if your rules and regulations, I'm sorry if I go on a tangent here, your rules and regulations do not specify things like bourbon or scotch or any of those things, even Canadian whiskey, which is like the Wild West,
Yeah.
has very strict guidelines around, you have to you have to have the original flavor of what whiskey is intended to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's vague.
Yeah.
That says to me, you can't flavor it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't add too much sugar to it. You can't do this. Now, tequila and mezcal, there's not a lot of rules.
No.
So you can add as much additives as you want,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Why is that my problem? It's not.
No.
That's your legality problem.
Yep.
Like, work with that and make it better.
Yeah, I mean,
Personal opinion.
no, I agree, and it's the same with rum. I mean, rum doesn't have any real regulations either. That's why Fork Square is so wonderful. Is that they do it the right way, even though they don't have to. They can add a bunch of crap if they want to, but they just make straight, pure molasses distilled rum. I mean, there's nothing, no frills about it. No, I definitely agree with you on that. So I've got a few more questions here. These are not related to whiskey, so these are just some fun questions. What is something you haven't done in your life that you wish you could do?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
Something that I haven't done in my life that I wish I could do. I wish I'd like win a Nobel Peace Prize. No, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? But
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to think realistic. I live in the realistic world in my head. So
Yeah.
like, I don't even. When I shoot for the sky, I shoot for the sky within reason.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things I would love to do that I probably never will, but I would love to have like my own brand, my own bottling of whiskey out there somewhere that I could put my stamp of approval on and say, this is something that I've distilled, we've gone through the process, and we put it into a bottle and put it out there. That would be kind of an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not talking about a barrel pick. I'm not talking about, I found some white dog on the street and threw it in a barrel and aged it for a couple months. I'm talking like full blown from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
I think that would be so fun and so cool and a really cool story. Yeah, that would be it. Like I wouldn't say skydive because I hate skydiving.
Yeah.
Like if you're familiar with the area that I live in, Zephyr Hills, Florida, is like one of the skydiving capitals of North America. No, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, maybe you'll open up the, unless it exists already, the first Tampa-based whiskey distillery, and we'll see your face on the side of a bottle one day.
There's too many here already.
So it's already, they've already got the hint.
There's a few. Let's say that. Let's just say there's a few. I don't know if I would. Well, never mind.
All right. Next question. Another random one. If you could only watch one actor's catalog of movies for the rest of your life, which actor are you picking? So you can only watch the movie they starred in.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
Because it might not be your favorite actor. I mean, if you have a favorite actor,
Right.
maybe he's only in a couple of movies you love, but
100%. Like, so the wildest thing is I'm 38 years old.
yeah,
So in my formative years, growing up, Will Smith had some of the best movies on the planet.
he did.
Right? He had drama. I'm going to go with Will Smith on this one. Like, in my head, immediately when you said that, the two people that came to mind, Ryan Reynolds, Will Smith.
Yeah,
The only reason why I would go with Will Smith is because he's had drama.
yeah,
He's had thriller. He's had horror. He's had comedy. All of those.
yeah.
Probably go with Will Smith.
You know what? I hadn't thought of Will Smith, but I think that might be maybe we'll have to think of more actors in the future, but that's almost a perfect answer because to your point, he had that stretch from the late 90s to the early 2000s where he was just knocking out blockbusters, but then he's got rom-coms and comedies like Hitch. Then he's got the more horror like I Am Legend, action films, sci-fi films. I mean, he literally has been in every genre, so you would never be wanting for something more basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's a great.
What are some of the names you've come up with or have heard?
Yeah, I haven't really thought of it too much, but and most of the actors you think of, they're kind of pigeonholed into a single category. You think Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise might be a good one. He's in a lot of action. In the '90s, he was in like Jerry Maguire and some of the more drama rom-com based movies. But he doesn't have a ton of comedy except for Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder. So you'd be kind of missing out on an entire subcategory of films for his. And then if you have a strong, preference for a certain actor like Tom Hanks or something. I mean, he was in, his movies in the '90s are some of the greatest movies ever made, and but you're missing out on action films. He's never been in an action movie, unless landing an airplane in the Hudson River in Sully is actiony enough for you. That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, it's tough to pick the right answer.
Right, and that's the wildest thing too, because like if you even think about some of the other ones. If you want to talk another person who has a lot of like drama and action and comedy and like Charlize Theron. Sure,
yeah.
I'm saying
yeah. No, I know who you're talking about.
She has a wild amount of different types of movies too. So now I'm still gonna go with Will Smith.
Yeah, no, I think Will Smith might be the perfect answer. I'm gonna think about this and see if I can come up with another actor who's been in so many different styles of movies. That's a great answer. I mean, slap aside from last year, I think that's a great pick.
It would be weird if I came up with like Nathan Lane.
Yeah, you had what the Lion King? Does that count?
The Birdcage.
Yeah,
like there's a bunch of movies. Or what's his name? No, never mind. I'm trying to think of what his name is now. He says like he has like 80 immediately because I thought of like The Simpsons. He's got like 80 million voices on The Simpsons too. Oh man.
I know who you're talking about. He plays in The Birdcage too. It's
he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's really good.
I don't think he has any good movies.
No, not a ton of good movies. Just some small parts. I mean, he's in Along Came Polly. I mean, he was in Friends, so at least you have the whole if you like Friends, you have the whole Friends series to watch.
Franchise.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another consideration. But no, I think Will Smith is because then you have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so you even have the sitcom to add to your collection of things to watch. I mean, that might be the answer, the actual correct answer. All right, I'm gonna get you out of here on this one last question. If you could share a dram of whiskey with 4 famous people, dead or alive, which 4 people are you going to share a dram with?
Damn, dead or alive?
Yep.
That is a great question. Oh my goodness. After 3 very good drinks. I would love to have... This is a hard one.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So, truthfully, I would love a wide variety. Like, who I would love to have a drink with, or who I would love to see drunk.
Yeah.
Let me say that. Somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like he would be wild drunk.
Yeah.
Like, just talking about the cosmos and talking about everything that physics could bring to the table. Right?
Yeah.
I would love to have that conversation with somebody like him.
If you had him at the table, you wouldn't need anybody else because he would just, just let him talk.
Right, exactly. Keep drinking, Neil.
Yeah, exactly. That would be pretty cool.
So Neil deGrasse Tyson, and that was weird because I almost wanted to say, I can't say his name, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip that.
Okay.
But second person, I feel. Oh, why would I do? I'm a huge Giants fan.
Yeah.
So Michael Strahan.
Oh, yeah.
Love to have a drink with either. Oh man, I don't know if I would go with Michael Strahan or I'd go with like somebody like Phil Simms. Like one of those two. Just a great time.
Yeah,
right?
as a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, I don't agree with this pick, but yeah, no, those are good answers. Strahan tormented the Eagles for a decade plus, so
I mean, we had to deal with Randall Cunningham for those many years, so you're welcome.
That's true. That is true.
And freaking, oh my God, the Eagles-Giants rivalry is probably my favorite, only because, of course, granted, I am a huge Giants fan, but other than the Yankees in Boston or Red Sox, I feel like that rivalry was stronger than really any other in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it still goes to this day. Like, to this day. Some people hate the Cowboys. or everybody hates the Cowboys. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But the Giants and Eagles just despise each other.
Yeah,
and
they
even
do.
on the field, they despise each other.
Yep.
And I got a third person, and I was talking about Eagles Giants, and I don't know who the heck I was doing there. if it had to be dead or alive, you know, this is going to be very weird because it's old. It's a callback, and it's American as American can be. But good old J.W. Dance.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He was one of the distillers way back in Kentucky that just started distilling out of a long still, right? Using wood to distill spirits out of, along with the Lavens, those types of people. I would just like to learn why.
Yeah.
Like, just sit back and be like, look, this is how whiskey is today.
Yeah.
Let's try some American single malt. And just figure out, like, why.
Yeah.
How would you even think of doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do it? And then on top of that, how was it? Like, can we do it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just figure that out. So
that'd be cool.
That would be a fun one. And, you know, everybody's going to say, but, oh, I Colonel Blanton or you know, would be another one. Another one would be Jimmy Keelan would be a great one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with those three. That's a wide variety, so I think we'd be good.
Yeah, no, I think so. And you cover a lot of ground with those three voices, so I'm sure the conversation would be enlightening for sure.
I fear what J.W. Dent would say though, because you know he was around back in like the 30s, or before the 30s.
Well, just imagine him and Neil deGrasse Tyson going back and forth with all the newfound knowledge since he's passed away. Like, you know, this is
science, right? Like, it might be a tad bit scary, actually, now that I think about it.
No, that's great though. But anyways, it's getting a little late now, so I'll let you get on with the rest of your evening. Again, I appreciate you enjoying some whiskeys, having a chat with me, and this was a lot of fun. You know, hopefully we can cross paths again in the future and share some drams and chat some more.
Absolutely, anytime. I love doing this. You know, I do things on TikTok called Talk Whiskey to me. It's just this page started mainly because I just wanted to talk whiskey with people.
Yeah. And
my wife was very much like, stop.
Yeah.
I'm tired of talking about whiskey and other things. So I'm like, okay, great. I'll start a social media thing and we'll see what goes on there. So this was a fantastic time. Thank you for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody else enjoys it.
Yeah, no, hopefully everybody enjoyed it, and we'll definitely be in touch again, and we'll chat some more in the future.
Definitely, dude.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye.